Hello. Well, we're back. We finally got the convertible back outside and totally up in the air. And I have it orientated as such so that, well, the sun's at the wrong angle, but a little bit ago the sun shined right through this thing. So, yeah, I did that so I could see what all is bad here. You know, obviously any light you can see is light I see, and vice versa. There are plenty of holes here, and that's what we're doing today is a damage report. Sadly, a lot of this car is mostly held together by with some sort of weird yellow undercoating, like what you'd find in motorcycle tanks. It's thicker in some spots than in others, and some places it's the only thing holding metal together. Here in the floor pans, it was real bad. But nice thing is everything before the doors seems pretty nice. The floor pans for the driver footwell is only, it's not too big of a deal. And then the whole rest of the frame is actually fine up front, aside from a little bit of rust down here, but that's nothing, all things considered. And then the only issue up front is this weird bend here. Someone had hit something and it buckled the radiator support down and in, but we'll be able to fix that without much issue. It's real minor. Yeah, the next step is getting this big 2x4 square tube out, or rectangle tube. It comes down this way and then it goes that way all the way down inside the rocker. So we have to cut the rocker off of the car and then remove the square tube. You can see there's the rectangular tube and there's the rocker. You can see both are completely full of rust, whereas they would normally be hollow. So anywho, yeah, everything up front seems fine. As we get further back, that's where the issues start arising. You can see some pinholes in the floor, and that's okay. We're just going to completely replace the floors. I have a few parts cars for this specific reason that actually do have good floors, so they will be put to good use. And some of the frame supports for the floors you can see are shot. Again, that's still fine. I do have good ones. So it's pretty much what we'll be doing is just cutting out the entire floor, and then we'll also go and, like I said, replace the rectangular tubing within these rockers. And then once the rockers are off, we'll put on good rockers that I do have. Some of you might have seen my video earlier, but I made a review video of some rockers that like a C2C Fabrications in Michigan make for these cars, and sadly they're just junk. I'd be better off starting from scratch, so that's what I'll be doing. Well, aside from using donor cars, but yeah, that's what I'm up to, or that's what I'm up against, I should say. I'm sorry, I've been out in the heat all day, if that's why I'm kind of slow and a little incoherent. Yeah, there's a lot of work yet. I still have to fight these triangles out. They seem to be welded to the rectangular tube inside the rockers. So gotta grind those two pieces apart, completely remove them. Then once we do that, we'll get rid of some of this metal back here that's not needed, because with these triangle pieces in, they're not structural. And then the only thing they're used for is the seatbelt mounts. So we'll keep that section and we'll remove any excess. This guy will be staying, but we will weld that so it doesn't do this down the road. We're going down the road. Oh, while the car is actually moving, I should say. It's not a metaphor, it's literal. There's plenty of holes in the spare tire wall, as you can see. So that will be one thing that I will completely replace, along with the forward floors. Just completely replace that spare tire wall. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I do have good ones, but if I don't, I actually have one from Contour SVT that will serve me well. And from there, I just have to hammer out a few little things so the shape is similar. It doesn't have to be a dead ringer because you'd never fold the carpet up, but it should be really close at the least, and then we'll weld on that little spare tire hook mount. As far as the Fender Wells go, the rear ones, actually pretty decent. The only issue is they've been rusting here where we cut out a section. So I went and cut out most of the bad already, and what remains is good. So they're actually in pretty good shape. Strut Towers, all four are perfectly fine. Same with all the suspension mounts. That's what's kind of funny about this car. Where rust could be critical, it's perfectly fine. Not a single issue. However, on all the more sacrificial stuff, as people will call them, the floors and the quarters, the spare tire wall, those are gone. Yeah, they'll need complete replacing. The quarters are mostly fine, and that's great. I will use them, but I will have to do some patching. If we get around to the top side, I'm kind of done bending over. Every time I bend over, I'm getting a little dizzy. So yeah, it's about this bad on the other side, some bubbling, but on the other side, this part that actually folds down like this is actually loose and flopping in the wind, and this one isn't far behind it. As you can see, as I just feel around the back side, there's giant chunks just falling out. Like I said, the rockers need addressing, and once I put the square tubing and rockers back in, it will be capped off and sealed completely. Or what I will do is, yeah, I think I will do it, is I'll drill some holes into that square tube. I'm not reusing these. I'm just flat out replacing them. There's a steel place down the road, and I know steel is ungodly expensive right now, but it's very much worth it, and it's needed. So that is what we're doing. So I will drill some drain holes inside of that. As you can see, the factory rocker does have drain holes, and no, none of these are added. All of these here are stock. That's stock, or that's stock. That's stock. They don't drill these. They drill these or punch them, but they punch these at an angle, with like a triangle bit. So as you're going down the road, any water that manages to get in here will just evacuate like that. And then same with these rear rockers. Water is designed to drain out of these should water get in there, and it goes inside these rockers and then empties out. The issue is when they did this one, they must have plugged some of those drain holes, and that's why it's getting really rough back here. And there should have been, yep, there's a drain hole there, and it's plugged with rust, of course. And there should have been another hole either up here or in this lower corner, and those long since disappeared with time. But yeah, otherwise whole front is fine. Yeah, the issue seems is this was a Michigan car. It was born in Michigan, or actually I believe it was made in Canada, but it spent its entire life in Michigan until I got it a few years ago. Now it lives in Wisconsin. But I never drove it around Wisconsin. I drive it up down my driveway once in a while in the summer, and that was about it before I stripped it. But yeah, just the presence of salt. Not driving in the winter because it's a convertible. EXPs you'd normally hear about people driving in the winter with them in the 80s and 90s, early 2000s, because they were still a commuter car, not a collector car at the time. But this is a convertible. No one would ever drive this in the winter. That'd be silly, foolish, and it's extremely impractical because there's not much for heat, especially with no roof. So just the presence of salt, in the spring, fall, and then a little bit during the summer, and driving it through the rains, it made this thing pretty nasty. And it's a shame it got this way, because it was after it started rusting in a few spots, someone went and thought, oh, hey, let's undercoat it. So they undercoated it. But it was too late. I do say this, and please take it to heart. If your car's started rusting, don't bother undercoating it, okay? Unless you're going to remove that rust. If you remove the rust, beautiful. That's absolutely fantastic. Undercoat that sucker right away. But if you're letting it go, just let it go. Don't bother. You're only going to hide more issues down the road. You can see here, there's just rot underneath all this stuff. And at some point, a bunch of it had flaked off and just disappeared. And then, Mother Nature just started eating this thing away again, trying to reclaim it for herself. Yeah, but yeah, that's mostly what I'm up against here, and I believe I'll make this as an update video. But it's pretty cool finally being able to see the whole thing on its side. I can stare at it like this, face down, and from the back side, face up, and look through all the holes and issues and other things. But back here, you can kind of see most of the bracing. You can actually see quite well. So we did a lot of bracing so we could have it on the rotisserie, and we did all that on the level ground. Made sure all the tires had the same PSI. We took a whole bunch of measurements, make sure everything was level as level can be, because like I said, we have to replace the square tubing in these rockers and underneath the door hinges. So once that is removed, this car will fold in half if we don't brace it. So we braced it. It's no longer an issue. The car doesn't weigh too much right now. We probably doubled its weight with just our simple thin braces. But they're effective, they're solid, and they will definitely work. But yeah, I think I've made the video long enough. Oh yeah, we did remove the transmission, the axles, the entire front suspension. We needed every ounce we could get off of the car, out of the car. We left a few things though, like the interior HVAC, the brake booster master, steering rack, and then all the wiring, of course. But aside from that, the only thing I've left on is a few parts of the rear suspension because they don't weigh much. And I really needed to get going on this. The rear suspension comes apart really easily. You can see I've already taken apart most of the left side. I just have it assembled because I did a mock-up in a previous video many months ago. I haven't touched this car since February. So yes, it was definitely time to get back at it. When you're running your own business, things, the customer stuff takes priority, and you start losing your personal life. So now that summer's winding down, it's almost mid-August, so I'm reclaiming it, taking it all back. Time to enjoy myself and be very productive for myself. It sounds selfish, but I literally have not had a weekend. I had a total of 4 days since February of free time, and that's it. That's no exaggeration. It's just been ridiculous. But here we are. We're finally back at the convertible, and I'm hoping to get the metal work all done before winter. I was really hoping this year I could have it ready for paint, or painted before fall. That kind of changed to hopefully having it prepped for paint by fall, so then we could paint it in the spring maybe if we had to. But now, yeah, it's looking like I'll be lucky to have the metal work done by fall, but I do have many weekends off. In fact, there's not a single weekend I'm working until winter, so I get to spend a lot more time with this, which means you guys get to see a lot more of this. So in the final minutes here, I would like to apologize for how slow I've been and how few videos I have made, but good news is, because I'm getting back into this, I did get somewhere with the front contour brake swap, and I do have some funds to work on the rear. So real soon here, once I start replacing metal, I can start ordering parts, because some parts like the rear shocks have to come all the way from the UK, and that's going to take a few weeks to get here. So I'm going to get on that stuff right away, and it'll all come, and about the time I'm finished working with all the metal, I'll have most of my new parts here, and then we'll be able to paint this completely. The way factory did it, completely inside and out. The wiring harness the steering column, none of that will be in this car. It'll just be raw metal, and it all gets painted the same exact color, the way Ford intended. And then we start assembling every new piece or restored piece just like it was a new car at the factory during assembly. So do look forward to that. That's where I'll start doing more how-to videos for like the front wheel bearings, front brakes, front transmission installation, removal, things like that, while I have everything clean and brand new, loose, nothing ridiculously rusty or anything like that. It'll be quite superior content compared to a few of my things, but I try to keep you guys pleased because I'm one of the few people helping you guys out, so I'm doing my darndest, guys. But that's what it's all about. You can see my blue EXP back there. He's just hanging out. Got to drive it around a bunch the summer, luckily, and it got to be in a movie shoot. But yeah, I do all this for you guys and myself because my photographic memory is just incredible. But there's still some stuff that I tend to forget or can forget, and I really don't want to. So that's why I do what I do, and I know it's not as frequent as some of you guys need or would like, but I am still plugging away. But yeah, I'll let you guys go, and we'll see you sometime soon. I gotta start filming another video in a moment. So yeah, until then, guys, catch you later.